So I heard the morning show bring this up yesterday, and it was interesting because they wanted to talk a little Tigers. We are 23 days away from opening day. And yesterday we had a national TV game, and Kerry Carpenter was mic'd up, and it was I just love that stuff when they're talking to the play-by-play crew during the game. And Carpenter was interesting, and they had the orange jerseys on, and I'm starting to get amped up for Tiger baseball. And one of the things Carpenter said when he was done, he's like, guys, everything's changed around here. We're so fired up. We can't wait for this season to start. And they had a national TV game. I think it was a national TV game last week. Well, hold on. Let me stop. Let me go back to Sunday. Sunday, they put together a lineup that looked like an opening day lineup.
It did.
And the morning show talked about it. And Scuba was a starter. Rogers behind the plate. Tork at first. Torres at second. McGonigal at short. And Cole Keith at third. Outfield as expected. Baez in center with Riley Green and Kerry Carpenter. And I'm like, well, everybody says this is an opening day lineup. And then they use the bullpen like they might use it during the regular season. And the morning show talked about it, and they got very little traction. And then they brought up, and by that I mean there wasn't a lot of interaction. The callers aren't ready for it yet. They're in a different place in their sports mind. And we get accustomed to that. We know that not everybody's, what's on the top of mind with them and what's exciting them about sports. Might be a little early for the Tigers. And then they brought up Max Clark. And they got a bunch of texts about Max Clark. Last week in a game, he was playing left field, and he's a highly regarded prospect. Let's just say, as my kids would have it, he also has excess drip. He's got the chains, he's got the war paint, eye black, he's got the massive sunglasses, It's excess drip. And, it led to criticism right away. CJ Nikowski was on the Braves TV broadcast and said, quote, "There's no chance that there was a kid who had never been to the big leagues coming into camp like that during my old man heyday. No chance. That's wild." And then after that, he had a rough game. He dropped a couple of fly balls. Now, he was playing left field, which he doesn't play. He plays center field. And spring training's a great time to try and expand, what he is capable of doing. Yeah, put him in left field. But, he lost track of a count at one point, it looked like, and he fell over on a swing and a miss. And it led to a bunch of criticism because of all the bling. And the morning show got a lot of traction on that. And there's a lot of people out there outspoken that they don't like it. And Evan Petzold, reporter for the Detroit Free Press, went and talked to him. But first, I got to find a tweet he put out. Sorry, I got to hear somewhere. He put a tweet out basically saying, look, I'm comfortable in my own skin. And, here it is. Sorry. Not organized. My apologies. Comfortable in my own skin and always will be. Opinions from those scared to chase their dreams. World needs more love. Imperfect. That was his tweet. Here's his quote from Evan Petzold. Listen to this. "I don't care what they have to say. To be completely honest with you, people don't know me. There's a lot of people out there that will do anything for some monetary clicks. I've been dealing with this since I was 15. It's part of this game. It's part of this process. And it's only going to get worse, obviously. People love to talk about things that they don't have a clue about. They don't know how I was raised. My mom was a special ed teacher. My dad drove semis. I grew up in a 2-story house, loving God and serving him. And just for people to go out there and say stuff like that, I'm sleeping just fine at night. I can promise you that. One day they're going to have to look in a mirror and answer a question themselves. I get to wake up each day and every day and play a child's game for money, surrounded by 3 probable Hall of Famers, 6 All-Stars, 15 Gold Glovers, and a manager who's won a World Series who also played. They support me, they love me, and we work each and every day for that. That's the big picture. I don't care. People are criticizing me for dropping 2 fly balls. No kidding. I should have caught those fly balls. It doesn't matter if the sun was there. It doesn't matter if it was my first time playing left field. It doesn't matter. I should have caught the ball. But it had nothing to do with the fly ball, right? It was just, they're just looking to paint an image to paint. People talk about humility and humbleness, but that's not even a question. Each and every one of these guys know what I'm going to go out and do for them every day. that's part of it. It's much longer than that. Is all this criticism of Max Clark warranted? And do we care? Should we care?
I don't think it's warranted, but people are going to form an opinion because they feel like they need to speak on anything. And that, whatever, you do you. I like his response to it. Mm-hmm. He's comfortable with who he is, and it doesn't matter. And that is what matters, is how does he feel? Is he wearing all the chains because he's trying to project something? Who cares? If he's cool with it, then he's cool with it. That's not what affects him out in the field or affects him at the plate. So the fact that he's got he feels that he has the support of his teammates and his manager for right now. I mean, I don't think he's going to make the team out of spring training. See what he does in the minors. That he's been brought up from humble beginnings and he's just enjoying life. He seems to me like a guy who is living every day to the fullest. He's got a little money to spend. He spent it. I think he's married now, where he was engaged anyway. He's a very young man, only 21 years old. But what you see from him, and maybe people just look at that and they think he's projecting something without listening to the substance of the man himself. When you hear him talk, he seems mature. What he has to say is mature. What he has to say is always a positive message. And I think that will go a long way for him and his career. In the meantime, haters are going to hate, and you just deal with it how you do. And I think he's going to be fine.
I don't know the kid at all, right? I've never met him, seen interviews, whatever. I don't know much about his background other than what he said here. Don't know the first thing about him. So I always put this in the context of who the hell do I think I am to tell him what to do? But I also, to be fair, would say, what if that were my kid? Okay? What if my kid was all blinged up like that? Here's what I'd say to them. I would say, that's fine. As long as you're comfortable with the criticism that's going to come with. You cannot care what anybody else has to say. Because when you do anything to draw attention to yourself, whether that's why you're doing it or not, if you're going to stand out in that way, you're going to receive criticism. The criticism doesn't matter. What matters is what you do on the field. But if the criticism is going to bother you, I would recommend you don't do that. But if the criticism doesn't bother you, and in fact, if it motivates you, go for it. And, and he doesn't seem to care about the criticism. And so if wearing all the chains and the war paint and the big sunglasses and the pink arm sleeve or whatever it is that is going to make people think that you are just trying to draw attention to yourself and you don't care, then you do you. But if it's going to bother you, the one way you can avoid it is take some of that stuff off.
Yeah. Now, you know me. I'm not a guy who likes to look at me guy.
Nope.
And there is part of that to Max Clark. But if you listen to what he says and how he says it, I'm fine with it at this point.
Well, there was more that he said that is also interesting. But 248-539-9797, Max Clark has responded to the critics in a story with Evan Petzold in the Free Press. Karsch and Anderson, 97.1.